Welcome to Community Watch, and today we're having interesting conversations about snakes. We'll be joined with Mr. Miles Threadgill, and we'll be talking all about wildlife conservation. Stay tuned. Community Watch starts now.
All right, welcome to Community Watch. Greg, how are you?
How you doing, good doctor?
Our virtual fist bump. I'll be glad when we get to do an actual fist bump.
Yeah.
Hope that happens soon.
Sometime soon.
Well, we have a guest today that I am very proud to have on the show. He attended Georgia Highlands for a while and transferred to ABAC, Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College. I know ABAC does a lot more than agriculture, but he got his bachelor's degree from there and is now with the Department of Natural Resources. Miles Threadgill, welcome.
Thank you. Thank y'all for having me.
Well, it's great. Well, first of all, congratulations on your degree.
I appreciate it.
And on your job with natural resources. I know you're doing work that is important to you.
Thank you. Yes, very, very, very passionate about the natural world around us. So I'm loving it.
Well, I know that we want to get into some particulars about snakes, which seems to be a special love of yours. Okay. But I thought we would start by getting a little sense of how you ended up with this particular interest and that has led to a career for you. Mm-hmm. So where did it begin?
I definitely contribute my beginning to my dad. My dad was a bit like me, maybe not as much as me, but he always got me outside, and he actually started me on fishing. Like I lived in Rome, and then I had all the rivers to fish. So I started out a lot of fishing, but I did do some hunting, and I had family in rural Alabama. So that was just something we did, and a couple other family members do. So I always had that background, but when I decided to decide on my degree after Highlands, after doing my core classes, I definitely want to do something outside. And then ABAC offered a natural resource management degree with a wildlife focus, and that's where I ended up. And then it's all from there. Snakes weren't an interest of mine. When I say as far as when I was up in Rome, but as soon as I got down here, I got really interested in them and just took it from there, among many other things in the field.
Now, Greg, you have kind of a hunting history in your childhood, but
yes, in my childhood. I mean, that's exactly right. In my childhood,
you didn't end up liking snakes so much after that.
No. Well, I mean, growing up, as Mr. Threadgill said, growing up, I grew up in a hunting family, fishing family, outdoors a lot. We grew up in Gore. I was fortunate our family owned, like 200 acres of land. So we just roamed all the time outside. So hunting and fishing was really part of a rites of passage. But, as I got older, you kind of move away from that stuff, especially when you move away. But I do think it is so important to a healthy development of kids. I just think being outside in the community with nature is just something you can't create in no other fashion, in no other way. And I think it's very important. So I can relate to that, but no, I haven't hunted 30, 40 years. I have fished, but not hunting.
Well, Miles, tell us a little bit about what you do with your job currently before we get into some snake talk.
Yes, sir. Well, right now I'm working as a part-time position. I'm working part-time position in Section 5 of Georgia, which is Southwest Georgia, Albany, Georgia, and stuff like that. But we do a lot we work on a lot of wildlife management areas, and we do a lot of land management, such as prescribed fire and herbicide applications. And it's just a lot of making the habitat for animals as it should be to maintain healthy populations. But I also do some surveying for amphibians, such as gopher frogs and different species of salamanders. And I also have been doing a lot with gopher tortoises.
Gopher tortoises?
Yes, sir.
Huh.
It's one of our there are only a species found in the coastal plain portion of Georgia, but they're pretty much just a land turtle, but they're really keystone species in a lot of habitats around here, which keystone species mean that they're just a vital part of the ecosystem. And if we lost that part, there'd be pretty heavy damage to these ecosystems around here.
You know, you mentioned, and I guess the key word is management, because you would think someone that works for Department of Natural Resources and is wildlife focused as you are would not be someone who would support hunting or fishing even, except that that seems to be a part of the management aspect.
Yes, sir.
How does that work?
I mean, the way I like to put it is that humans have changed the landscape so much that there has to be some kind of human anthropomorphic management around wildlife populations now to maintain healthy populations. So like things such as fishing and hunting help manage the population and keep it under carrying capacity as long as regulations are followed. So that's kind of the big thing around just us having to manage. And as far, I mean, I like to talk about prescribed fire too, because it's a big part of it. And that, I mean, most of the ecosystems in Georgia were maintained by routine fire caused by lightning strikes or Native Americans. And now that humans have built roads and stuff like that, there's so much management that we have to do to maintain those habitats, since we have fragmented habitats and just deforested certain areas that there has to be human management to keep these areas healthy as can be.
So let me see if I understand this properly. So what you're saying is we have to have some form of human management because we as humans have encroached so much on natural wildlife habitats that in order to maintain them, we also have to create the answer to the problem we created.
Spot on, man. That's it.
But you know, it's funny that you say that, because I can see that. Like for instance, in Gore we have the state park, James Sloppy Floyd Park, and it's a beautiful park. I like to go there to hike, but at the same time, hiking trails naturally disturb natural habitats. And how do we protect people so that they can explore these natural wonders? But at the same time, I don't know if we realize these things that we take for granted and we're able to walk in the park safely come at a cost. And how do we maintain and preserve these species if we could easily lose them if we're not careful.
That's it.
And I think I have to give a lot of that credit to you, Doc. I don't think I was as conscious of our role in that until I started hanging with you. There's a lot of things. Good doctor.
Well, we need to go on another camping trip sometime.
Actually, we do, and we actually had planned one before COVID. So I do. Yes, I do think having young men out in nature camping is a good way to introduce them to things. We just have to make that happen.
Maybe we can get Miles up here to help us out.
Oh yeah, I'd love to, man. It's definitely so important for youth to get out and learn, because a lot of people don't get that experience. And I mean, I always accredit just me loving just to get out and get in the woods or something like that is why I've been able to excel in school and stay out of trouble. So it's definitely something we need to see more.
Well, we will keep track of you for that very, very reason. for sure. Now, I happen to notice pretty regularly photos that you post of yourself holding some pretty wicked looking snakes.
Oh yeah.
So I have a lot of questions related to that, but first, what is the interest in snakes of all of the possible things out in wildlife that you could focus on? Why snakes?
I mean, to me, they've always been fascinating. I've never like I said, back when I was back in Rome before my junior and senior year, I didn't really take much interest in them. But when I got down here, I did. But I think the biggest thing for me is, I mean, the first snake I saw down here that really caught my interest and got me into the passion was a rattlesnake. And that's everybody's big fear when you talk about venomous snakes and stuff like that. But where I get most of my fascination and passion with conserving snakes is just how people villainize them to be something that they aren't. They're constantly killed by most people that find them, run over on roads and stuff like that. And I mean, people are taught to fear snakes, and of course there are dangerous species of snakes, but they aren't out to get humans like we're taught. Like, they're not the evil creatures that everybody say they are, but they're just a vital part of the ecosystem that needs to be preserved, and that'll come through education for people to not fear them. So I guess I kind of connect it to being a black man in America, honestly, because I mean, they're constantly villainized just for how they look, but they're just another thing that wants to be left alone, kind of thing. You know, they're just being.
You know what, Doc? Actually, when Miss Threadgill was speaking, I couldn't help but go back to my youth and from religion, from early on, growing up in church. Snakes have been connected to Satan and the devil and the Garden of Eden. And I can't help but think that that's been part of that evilness, because snakes are considered evil. Unlike all other animals, alligators kill you, lions kill you, everything kill you. But snakes may be the only animal that's considered evil. And I can't help but think part of that is because of the role serpents play in the Bible. But you're correct, because I know a snake a certain distance from me is not a threat. And I know, based on my profile, most snakes will perceive a human as, dangerous and move away from it. But I'm going to admit, if I see a snake, I'm scared, even though I know logically the snake is in more danger than I am. But it's been so ingrained in us that just the mere sight of a snake causes this unrational fear.
And a lot of just like any other animal in the woods, they're scared of humans. But since they are such a villainized group of animals, they're seen that defensive behavior that they have is seen as aggression. Like, because you hear people talking about snakes chasing them and everything, but that's just not the case for an animal that's super low to the ground and just perceives us as a giant predator.
So would you say snakes are the most misunderstood animal?
I would definitely say they're pretty high ranking, if not the most. I definitely say they are.
Well, we're coming up on a break here, so I don't want to get too deeply into it and have to cut you off. But when we get back, I'd like to find out some more about not only your experience with snakes, but what we should be doing that we're not doing, or what we should stop doing as far as snakes are concerned. So stay with us. We're going to take a break here. We'll be right back.
Your life is filled with opportunities to show the world you can take charge. It's waking up each day with a mission. It's working each day toward a goal. It's choosing to rise. It's charging forward with a purpose. It's changing the course of your life and taking charge of your future. If you're ready to be a Take Charger, enroll at Georgia Highlands College today.
Welcome back to Community Watch. We're having a conversation with Miles Threadgill of the Department of Natural Resources. Miles is from Rome, but now working and living in Southwest Georgia. Miles, we started talking about snakes, and Jeff Brown was telling us during the break that to kill a non-poisonous snake is actually illegal and punishable by jail or $1,000 fine. But I'm guessing that doesn't get enforced very often.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Like nothing against our law enforcement or anything, but it happens so often that it's never really enforced unless it's somebody messing with an endangered species, such as the indigo snake. But all of our other non-venomous snakes, such as rat snakes and king snakes, they don't really get enforced when people are caught killing them.
And I'm thinking most people see any snake.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know that they necessarily will kill any snake, but I guess a lot of people do.
A lot of people definitely resort to the most lethal method of getting rid of that snake when they do see them, especially around houses and stuff like that.
So
I would think, though, part of it is when you see a snake and you're fearful, determining whether that snake is venomous or not, is challenging.
Yeah.
Because I know for me, what I've been told through different seminars and different things, is based on the head and things of that nature, pretty much like you got that venomous or not. But let's be honest, if you're fearful of a snake and you're panicking, you're afraid, I don't know if that's really something people take into consideration at that moment. It's just they see that snake and it's a danger. Yeah. But I guess that has more to do with us doing more education on snakes and the laws and things of that nature.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's 46 species of snakes in Georgia, and 6 of them are venomous. And just a normal person isn't in a field guide somewhere figuring out all the species. So, like you said, it's just about getting out there and educating people. And with the more education, there are a lot of Facebook groups that you can join, such as I think there's a Snakes of Georgia identification, stuff like that. And there are plenty of educated individuals that will help you ID snakes that you may find that'll help, which in turn will help people not be so fearful of snakes, for sure.
So isn't it true that snakes, or I guess most snakes, I don't know about all, but most snakes really are beneficial in a lot of ways?
Yes, sir. Yes, snakes are definitely, like I said, they're one of our, ecosystem works in several parts, and all those parts work to make a healthy ecosystem. And snakes are just one of those ones that keep down rats, rabbits, squirrels. They equal out the habitat, which in turn, those snakes are eating, for example, those snakes are eating thousands of ticks every year, and those ticks can cause all kind of harmful diseases to humans. So they do have, and then also that copperheads, one of our venomous species in Georgia, their venom is currently being researched to help with breast cancer. There are plenty of beneficial things that snakes offer the humans that we should keep around.
So what are the 6 venomous snakes that are in this area?
We have 3 rattlesnakes, which are, in Georgia we have 3 rattlesnakes: the pygmy rattlesnake, the timber rattlesnake, and the eastern diamondback. But we also have the eastern copperhead, the cottonmouth, and we have the eastern coral snake. Those are 6 out of the 46.
And I can tell you, The only one that I think I would recognize would be a rattlesnake that's just the rattles. Like, so when you said it, nothing comes to my mind what that snake looks like.
Yes,
and the rattlesnake simply because of the rattle. So I do think while we live, I know for me, living in a rural area like Rome and in Northwest Georgia, it's hard not to come upon a snake at some point, but identifying them and knowing them, I just think, yeah, we've not done a great job in terms of educating people about the different ones. You see the occasional, I don't even know what the proper name of it. You know, you see the common black snake. I don't even know the common name. People call it black racer and all this stuff.
yes, sir.
But I can tell you what that snake is.
So,
It's a snake. That's all I know.
yeah, I mean, a lot of people in my field, they're studied in the field, and they kind of get irritated at people misidentifying snakes. They don't think that these people aren't out here striving to figure out what these snakes are. So, I mean, we have to, I mean, it all goes back to education. Like I said, it's teaching.
Well, I have seen photographs of you handling some of these poisonous snakes.
Yes, sir.
Miles, I mean, come on, man. Really?
That's where I get separated from the crowd a lot. I mean, it didn't take long for me to. I've always been that. I mean, anybody ask my mom. I've always been that second child, that one that's just out doing anything. So, I mean, I've always been that kid, but I never thought, I wouldn't have predicted in 2 years from when I left Highlands that I'd be handling venomous snakes, kind of, and stuff like that. But my biggest thing is I just learned where I can help people like relocate snakes from around houses and stuff like that. So being able to get over that fear and learn from several mentors how to properly and safely handle these snakes is a big thing for me, that I can help people, and then also save some of those snakes that could just end up somebody killing them.
Well, I tell you what, Miles, I won't kill a snake if I see it,
Yes,
but I am not. Now, I don't need to handle it. I don't need to pick it up, but I won't kill any snakes. But I guess with that, what do you do? What do people do to encounter a snake? You know, especially now, because it's not uncommon to hear about snakes being in people's homes, being in different places, and in places that the humans occupy. So, what is the proper procedure for dealing with something of that nature?
Well, of course, it's a situational thing, but I mean, if you're just out in the woods or a hiking trail and you come across a snake, the easiest thing to do is just let it cross the path. I know a lot of people end up hiking down a path and seeing a snake stretched across. If you give that snake space and just let him do his thing, he's going to cross, and then he's not going to be a bother to you. But as far as around houses and stuff like that, the big thing is not attracting what that snake is looking for. Most of the time, snakes are, when people have like wood piles or debris around their house, they're attracting rodents and all kind of other things that attract snakes. So if you can get rid of those wood piles and just laid out tin and stuff like that, you won't see as many snakes. But if you do encounter snakes like in your yard or something like that, it's simple as just grabbing a long stick and kind of coaxing that snake out away from your house if you can. But you can also use water hoses and other things. But there's also, I mean, the biggest thing is see if you can find somebody that can remove that snake for you, kind of thing. Because I mean, I've drove 2 hours from my house just to get a snake out of somebody's house. There are plenty of people around your area. Well, I wouldn't say plenty. There are people around your area that are willing to, I mean, take your call and get to your house as fast as possible to remove those snakes, so you don't have to kill it. And then that snake can be safely relocated somewhere else.
Now, it may just be because you are a snake whisperer.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I do a good bit of hiking.
Yeah.
It is very rare for me to see a snake at all. and you seem to come across them wherever you go.
And that's what I tell people that are really, really scared of snakes often. There's no telling how many snakes you walk past or just not seen, and then you've come out of that situation completely safe. Because people are always worried about going in the woods and seeing snakes or getting bit, but really getting bit is a rare occurrence kind of thing. And most of the people that are getting bit because they are messing with the snake or attempting to kill the snake. So, I mean, they're out there, but a lot of times I feel like people just walk past them and don't see them.
So, have you had any close calls?
I've had a couple. Well, I've had a good many, but they've all come. I guess most of them came when I was first starting out, of course. But then nowadays, it isn't as often. I still keep on my toes, but it doesn't happen as often now.
Well, tell us about a close call, or tell us about a mistake you made that now you would not.
I think I'll talk about when I saw my first rattlesnake down here. It was in a dendrology class, the study of trees and woody ID. And we would just go out in the woods and walk around and identify trees and take quizzes. And we were just standing we had been talking in a little area in a circle for 4 or 5 minutes, just sitting there and talking about a tree. And then I looked down and just in the middle of us, there's a 4-foot eastern diamondback rattlesnake, just coiled up, never moved, never rattled, just sitting there. And then I think that was a pretty close call for everybody, but it was one of those teaching lessons that taught me, all right, maybe snakes aren't these creatures that are just going to bite you out of just wanting to kill you kind of thing, just villainizing. So that's probably one of my coolest encounters and one I cherish to this day.
I'm gonna take your word for it. I'm gonna take your word for it. But I'm glad that we have people such as yourself, but I will be remiss. I'm glad that we have African Americans. We have Black people as well, because I think too many times fields such that you are in, and in particular when it comes to nature, we're not represented. I know the national parks have done studies lately, and the number of people of color who visit national parks are considerably down. So I'm glad that we do have young men and young people like yourself involved in wildlife, because I do think that's one of the natural resources that as a community of color, we definitely need to be taking more advantage of, are our national parks and things of this nature. But so it does me proud to see that we have young brothers such as yourself in the field.
I appreciate it.
But just don't get bit, just playing with snakes.
I won't, for sure. Like
All
I
right.
said,
Go ahead, Miles.
like I said, I'd definitely like to see more people in the future, more people of color in the future in these fields such as ornithology and herpetology. And there's actually been a pretty good wave of people. Like last month, we had a good representation of. There was that whole mishap about that New York City lady calling the cops on the birder. And I forgot what park it was, but that made a big movement and kind of a celebration for the appreciation of conservationists that are of color. So and then this month is Latino conservation. So I feel like in the growing years, you will definitely see more people of color branching out to these fields.
Well, we're almost out of time here, but we want to thank you not only for being with us, but for doing what you do.
Yes, sir.
And we want to stay in touch with you. So thank you again.
I look forward to working with both of y'all.
And thank all of y'all for being with us on Community Watch. We will see you next time.